Hi, this is Sajjad, welcoming you to this video of Nuke Learning. Back to the viewer. As you can see, there is number 1 here, which shows we are viewing this remove node with this number 1 pipe. So if I select this right node and hit number 2 on the keyboard, you can see that 2 connects to the viewer, and if I hit 1 and 2, you can see them highlighting, and you can compare the results. Make sure not to have any other changes in the other areas, because you will have a problem and your supervisor or your comp lead will give you a note to reset the area that does not need to be worked on. In major VFX companies, you will be always asked to only work in this area. For example, to remove this X or do the marker removal task. So as you can see, I have removed it and put this text on it, and it is throughout the whole shot. As I explained before, we use these dots to make the comp much more beautiful and tidy, and I have followed the rules of B-pipe. So when I click on a node, it shows by highlighting these pipes, which means what data stream has come to this node. For example, if I click on this, it shows these data are coming from here to this dot. If I select this node, it shows this data. Or this one shows all these layers are affecting and giving data to this node. So the first thing after removing your lens distortion, denoise and degrain is to use the tracker. I have explained the tracker in more detail in other videos, but as you can see, I have 2 trackers here. Tracker 1 is on the edge of this marker, and Tracker 2 is here. And, as you can see, I have tracked all these areas, and all these numbers are changing. When you create a tracker node, when you want to start tracking, you have to find a frame that the pixel you want to track is completely inside of your viewer. For example, one of the reasons that I told you to review your shot completely is to try to find the best frame this marker exists inside the viewer. Sometimes it happens, for example, I choose frame 50, frame 64, frame 94, frame 7 or whatever, but here I choose frame 1 and I memorize that frame 1 is my reference frame. Then when I click on adding track, it creates a keyframe for me at that frame. So I move it to this area and track it to the end. My shot has more than 100 frames. So at around frame 103 or 4, I will stop it. Then I can turn this on to see this colored area. The green area is a sign of good track. The red and yellow are supposed to be not good enough, so as you can see, the parts that we want are completely green. Go to the first frame, or the frame that I wanted to start tracking, then go to the Transform tab, and in the reference frame, hit this option. This option is zeroing out my translate X and Y to make my tracker work completely correct. If we don't set this to the current frame, my track will slide and it will not work correctly. So now I can come back to the Tracker tab, and I personally prefer and offer you to use this Transform Match Move baked option. I have explained this option and other options in detail in other videos. You can use other options, but this is the one for me now. Hit Create. It will give me this transform node with all the data inside the center and translate sections. Some of the artists are using tracker nodes in live mode for tracking inside the comp. Keep this in mind. The tracker node is one of the nodes that make your script super heavy. Especially if you have multiple tracker nodes, your script will lock down and you will not be able to work fast. This is super fast right now. But if I copy this tracker node, I have these here, and I replace them instead of using this transform node. it will go a bit slower, and when your comp is getting super huge, you're not able to work easily. So I recommend you to do as I said and replace these nodes. So my first task is tracking. Second is testing the ways of cleaning the wanted area of the frame. So here hit 1. I did my first test of marker removal, and I used the node called Transform Mask. This originally works with a roto. If I put them here, I can create a mask like this here. Nothing happens. Open the node properties, let me hit 1, and if I decrease the Y option, my marker is gone. But as you can see, there is this halo effect here. I can select Roto, select all of the points, and hit E multiple times to give a feather. Or I can add a blur node and increase the blur, but not much. If I increase more, I can see the details here, but I will keep around 8. As you can see here, what I have done is I have copied Transform Match Move node here. Also, I have a blur node here, and if I play, you can see the tracker is moving with the roto. It's not great for me because I see these things here, which is not good for me. So, I will use another technique to remove the tracker from the wall. So, I come to this section. Here, I want to say, my footage doesn't have any alpha channel. I want to show you the problem here. I turn off this shuffle node to make sure that we don't have any alpha channel. Remember, the first frame was my reference frame that I created these clones. I have explained roto and roto paint nodes in great detail in other videos. The technique here is, first, to use the roto paint node, create my first clean frame, and then use the frame hold node. After using frame hold, all we have is a fixed frame during the whole 100 frames. Then I create a mask around the area that I have cleaned and use this merge node with mask operation. I hit 2. You see, I have my roto paint here, frame hold it, create this roto here, and mask it. And then add match move node, and then bring it over. But as you can see, this is not correct. The reason is, we don't have an alpha channel on our footage. So if I activate this shuffle here, the problem is solved. Make sure your footage always has the alpha channel. In the next section, I came here and added a text layer on top. So this is a simple text. I can type whatever I want. For example, hello, and I just changed the color a bit. As you can see, it's white text, and I gave it some color using the grade node. Then I added Transform Match Move node. If I disable it, it will not move with footage. But when I enable it, the text will move with our footage. Then I add it to the main pipe. As you can see, the highlight shows that it is connected to the main pipe, and we don't see any problem here. Now this goes to the end of our comp. I have this remove node from the top of the script, because sometimes when adding CG and during the work, some layers will be added to your node tree, but at the end, when you want to render and send it to the render farm, you don't need them. When you export your shot to present to your client or supervisor, all you need to do is to have the RGB, unless they ask you to give extra channels or layers.